Hello and welcome to Steve Harmison Super Over, where we are asking this question: how can anybody stop India? They have just battered, bruised, and blooded England. They're heading to Barbados. England are heading out. Steve Harmison, on Saturday, when they play South Africa, is there anything that South Africa can do to stop this Indian juggernaut?
Yes, they can. I think South Africa have got probably the best team well placed in the tournament to beat India. They've got power. They've got two very, very good spin bowlers in Maharaj and Shamsi. Left arm option in Johansson, and obviously probably the second best seam bowler in world white ball cricket, arguably world cricket, behind Jasprit Bumrah in Kagisa Rabada. And Umrik Nokia looked as though he's rejuvenated himself after a difficult 12 months. So they've got the ball and attack. That's first and foremost. And they've got power as well. We've seen so far in this tournament. Both teams are going in ridiculous form because they're both not only in the final, they're both unbeaten. So they go in with that. Do you know what, John? I think it could simply come down to power play. You look at Quentin de Kock versus Rohit Sharma. In the middle order, you've got, it's where I think just South Africa pip it with the likes of David Miller, Hunter Klassen. You know what? I look at India's middle order, and you look at that and you think as Jadeja one too high at number 6. Dubé doesn't look as though he's got as many runs. So you look at Stubbs, Klassen, Miller, Jansen. So I'm putting a case for South Africa here, and it comes down to the fact that they're getting over being in seven semi-finals. They've eventually won one, and now they come to a final. And if South Africa hold their nerve, I think they can give India a good game. And India are in ridiculous form. They're just blowing England away. And
Well, that's
off the back of a lot being said about this semi-final, there was only one team on here.
2 matches in a row. Okay, there wasn't much riding on the Australia game for India, but they knew if they beat Australia, that would pretty much knock them out. And then, of course, you got to win. They've fallen at the semi-final hurdle so many times, as you just said. But all the talk about how good and how much variety and how tricky their bowling attack is going to be on pitches like the one we saw today in Guyana. How impressed were you today as you were against Australia? Remember, it was Australia won the toss and put India into bat, and they got off to an absolutely ridiculous start. Should any team be scoring 171 on that track that we saw today?
Probably not, no. I think England will, and Josh Butler might scratch his head. I thought spinners bowled all right. I didn't think Asima's bowled great. Did we field well enough? Were our angles? There's a lot of twos on a small field, which I think that possibly, especially in a slow outfield, that might be something I think England will. There was a lot of things for England to look at, but from an India point of view, like I said before, everything that was said, favoritism, familiarity, whatever you want to say, they just bossed it, absolutely bossed it. Should they have gotten 100 over 170? No, they shouldn't have. But you look at their key players. If you're going top and bottom, you're looking at, fair enough, Virat Kohli's not scored a great deal of runs.
Yeah, we'll talk about him in a minute.
But he's still got that wow factor, and big game players turn up at big occasions, and no bigger occasion than a final of a World Cup. But Rohit Sharma and Jasprit Bumrah, two unbelievable characters in world cricket, in white ball cricket. And when you ask them to stand up when their country needs them to get them into a final, not only did they do it against Australia, Bumrah today was fantastic. It took me back to being out in Hyderabad during that series, and in Vishakhapatnam as well, when I think it was in Vishakhapatnam, and him and Jimmy Anderson bowled two ridiculous spells for fast bowlers on wickets that absolutely had nothing in them, in their skill level, their angles, their creativity. He didn't need to have too much sort of angle or creativity on a pitch, which was had a bit of assistance for a bowler today, but he was magnificent again. That last over he bowled inside the power play, I think it was the fifth over. I think that set the tone of putting England so far behind the game. And although it was a good bit of captaincy by Sharma, because Rohit Sharma could easily have gone. I think it was 33 or 4. He could easily have gone to his spin bowler to get them in the game, but he knew the power play was so crucial. He's gone, no, I'm going to get my best bowler on. If he might only go for 4, he might pick up a wicket. We're going to try and get England so far behind the game on this surface. 170 becomes a lot, and Bumrah delivered. And how many times has he done that? So Bumrah and Rohit Sharma look in ominous form for the South Africans.
I mean, the final will probably be Virat Kohli's final appearance for India in T20 cricket.
Yeah.
Today has possibly been the final appearance for some England players. So we'll talk about Kohli in a second. But are we saying goodbye to Johnny Bairstow in T20 cricket? Are we saying goodbye to Moeen Ali in 2020 cricket? Are we saying goodbye to Chris Jordan in 2020 cricket? Have we said goodbye already to Mark Wood in 2020 cricket? It's the end of an era for some of those World Cup winners.
Yeah, I think it is. I think there's quite a few of them. I don't think any would argue if the tap on the shoulder from Rob Key and the selectors said that's it, we're moving on, going. What have we learned from this competition? Our leadership's not as strong as what we think it is after the back of Owen Morgan coming, and I'm saying I'm going off the back of India as well as this competition. India wasn't in isolation. This has been some head-scratching moments from captain and coach. Player-wise, Johnny Bairstow will argue that he's still got life in him yet. He's not, 34, 35? He'll still feel as though he can. I think Moeen probably is done with this white ball team. Where England go with Mark Wood's development, his future, whether they see him, from a red ball point of view of pushing towards India, then the Ashes, because they've got that on the horizon. They've given him a 3-year contract. So they expect him to play. So I can't imagine Mark Wood giving a 3-year contract and then being, eased out after, a disappointing T20 World Cup. But the big question for me is, like I said right at the very start of this little rant, is leadership qualities. Where's our next leader? Because I can't imagine Mott carries on. Does Josh Buttler really want to carry on as captain? That is the questions for Rob Key, because Josh Buttler's got a lot of other things going on around the world, and he's come back from the IPL for this tournament to play against Pakistan. 2 games got washed out. There'll be a lot of them players who were in the IPL, the likes of Sam Curran and 1 or 2 others, might consider what happened during that episode to go, well, I'll make sure that doesn't happen again, because I lost a lot of money by coming home from the IPL. So I think we put all that in the mental pot. I just think England have had one good performance over the course of the last apart from the 2 Pakistan games, one good performance in the last 4 or 5 weeks. And that will probably disappoint, the hierarchy at the ECB.
And lastly, Virat Kohli, he will lead India out with the bat alongside the captain, Rohit Sharma. Do you think, in a weird way, South Africa will be targeting him? And do you think that England got him out a little bit early today?
There'll be targets. The guy at the other end's in ridiculous form in Rohit Sharma. So I'd imagine they'll see Virat Kohli's form in these last few dismissals a way of opening the power play. They definitely won't take him lightly. John, you've followed cricket for so long. When a champion goes and a champion's going out, we're on the cusp of Jimmy Anderson finishing at Lords between the 10th and the 14th of July. You can guarantee in them 5 days, Jimmy Anderson will have a huge part to play, take 4 or 5 wickets, take a standing ovation and walk off. Virat Kohli, I tell you what, if he walks off with man of the match in Barbados, it would not surprise me. The guy is probably the very best of the modern generation because of the pressure he's had to perform under, the lifestyle he has to live in India. This final game I think will be huge. Mentioned walking out to bat, leading off with Rohit Sharma, the captain. This could be his final game as well. Rohit Sharma could go at the end of this tournament as well, because I think people forget that Rohit Sharma's 36 years old now. Maybe he's a little bit older. Does he carry on with the embarrassment of riches that India have got? And do they then, give it, let the likes of Ishaq Kishan and one or two others sort of come in? So there'll be a lot of, I think, emotion going into that last game from an India point of view. But I suspect that when Virat Kohli does decide that it's it, possibly before the game, likely after the game, we'll see the end of a player that I'm not sure we'll possibly ever see again, because of character he is, the lifestyle he's had to lead, the pressure he's had to play under, and the charisma that he's played with. It wouldn't surprise me if he goes out with a bang. And South Africa, I would hope, will see him as the target. If they can get him early, that then sets the ball rolling.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.